Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the second part of lessons from verses 43 to 49. This section pertains to the interpretation of dreams. We have had a discussion about the relevance, importance, and significance of dreams, and now we'll talk a little bit about the interpretation. Interpretation of dreams is a knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to certain people. It seems like this is the type of knowledge that is not necessarily acquired just by reading books or by studying Quran and Hadith, but rather there are some people who master Quran and Hadith, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them the ability to also interpret dreams. So not everyone who will master the Quran will also master the interpretation of dreams. This is important to know. The interpreter of dreams should be well versed in the Quran, well versed in Hadith, well versed in the ahkam of Islam, the tenets of Islam, and should also be well versed in the Arabic language, similes, metaphors, idiomatic expressions, and the symbolism that lies in words and images. So this must be a person who can read through the lines, who is very good at deriving correct meanings from situations and symbols and circumstances. Someone who can only understand text when it is written may not be the right person to interpret dreams. Scholars have given various examples of symbolism that arrives in dreams. So a rope could mean a promise, like وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. That would be correlating an image in the dream to a verse of the Quran. Sometimes an animal may represent the nature of that animal, as has been described. So a crow has been called a fasiq in hadith. So it could be that if a person sees a crow, it's representing a sinful person. Similarly, if someone sees someone digging a hole, it could be someone is trying to set a plot, a scheme to trap that person. Sometimes the symbolism lies in the names of the people that are in the dream. So someone with a name like Rashid might indicate guidance. Salim might indicate safety and security that would be coming up ahead. So these are just examples, but the interpreter would not just be looking at isolated facts, but rather they would be following a process where they put all of this together. And the general workflow or the general process of interpreting a dream, it goes something like this. First of all, the components of the dream that are relevant are identified. Which parts, if any, are meaningful, are symbolic, are representative of truths, facts, realities, or messages. Then, once those elements have been identified, what is the symbolism behind those elements? So those elements are then interpreted. Once the various elements are interpreted, they are put together to complete a picture, to complete a message, or to complete a scenario. It could be something about the past or the present or the future. It could be instructions. It could be a warning. It could be, like in the case of Yusuf alayhi salam, a warning with a message to come up with a plan. So the pieces are put together to form that picture. Sometimes there are several possibilities to the interpretation. So then the interpreter will look at the various possibilities and then relate them to either what has been happening in the person's life or some other realities, and then decide which interpretation is the most likely in the case of this particular person. All interpretations are subject to the context of the person who saw that dream. The person who is seeing it, their background, profession, life experiences, family situation, financial situation, religious status and situation, all of these things play important roles and are important factors in what that dream ends up being. So There are a lot of things that are involved. It's a complex process. And as I mentioned, this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to people. People are gifted with this ability. It's not necessarily something that you can read and then acquire. Some people read these books on the interpretations of dreams. For example, the book that is attributed to Ibn Sirin is very famous, but most scholars, most hadith scholars agree that this book is not really something written by Ibn Sirin, rahimahullah. Ibn Sirin was a tabi'i, and he was a great muhaddith, he was a great faqih, but nowhere is there evidence of this book being rightfully attributed to him, where there is some kind of documentation that establishes that he actually wrote this. Yes, we do know that he was a great dream interpreter. We know that. That's mentioned in various narrations. But the book itself, it's difficult to attribute to him. Similarly, scholars have said that a person who just picks up a book of interpretations of dreams and tries to interpret their own or people's dreams for them is making a big mistake. May Allah give us tawfiq and guidance and show us those things in our dreams which are beneficial for us in dunya and akhirah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.